Well, now I've got my system ready to go. I want to talk more about our mixer and our mixing board here before we get started. Now, common in most mixing boards, we have inserts and sends, we have an input and output, and of course we got our faders and our pans. Well, here in Pro Tools, this is a virtual mixing board, we can add more inserts. We can add 5 more. See that? We can add 5 more. We can have a total of 10 different inserts. Really cool. I can go up here, for example. I want to put an insert. Now, what I normally do in mixing, I put the EQ before I put the compressor, because I want to EQ the sound first, then compress it, right? So here, for example, I know what I want actually. So I'm going to go here to EQs. I'll get the 1-band EQ, and I know I want to go here about that, a little further down in frequency. I can turn my frequency knob right here. May want to get to about maybe 100. I can go here also and set it in, of course, and make it, right, and set it right there. And I can get my gain. When I gain, I want frequency, and I can set my Q, and I just make it thin, make it wide or thin right there. See that? That's good. And we'll talk more about EQ later on in this lesson. And now, as you can see here, I've got EQ, and I got my compressor, and that's an insert. So I'll go back here to view again, and I'll get rid of the inserts. I just added the F and J. I don't need those right now. I'm not using that many inserts here so far. And but we have our sends. We can add more sends also there, as we talked about it before. Here are my second, add more sends right there as well. Now below that we have our I/O. That's our input and output. Now on top, as you can see, once I put my mouse there, the cursor there, you can see it says audio input path selector. And that says 1 of 1 and 2. So I have 1, right? Now below this here, I have the output. This output's going 1 and 2 directly out my path. That means I'm going right to the output of my MBox 2, which is to my master. So what's happening here is this is going from here to the summing amp, which is all the way over here. And see the same up here? There's a sum sign right there. And you see the same output is here. See that? So that means whatever coming output of anything else is going here, the same output. So we're going to the same output, which is this is the control of all the levels that are coming out that go into my MBox 2 that feed to my speakers. Now below this here we have automation. Now automation is off right now. I'll keep it off until I decide to start automating some features. And you see there I turned 1 off. They all turn off because they are in a group. Now if I go here and select groups here again, and I press this, nothing happens. See that? They're in a group, nothing happens. I go back here, select my group, and now they work together in sync. And we also get our color back for the color of each group. So right below here, you can see here, it says K drums, K drums. Now I go to here and select on the little button here next to the K, and then this comes up, this box comes up right here, and it shows us what we have available and the current tracks that are in that group, and we have the type. We can select either an edit group, it can be a mixed group, or it can be both. In this case, I want it to be a mixed group only. And we can link within the groups. That means this group, K group, that's the ID for it, will be linked to solos and mutes and send mutes. So I can press this, okay, yep, they are. So I can go here, and they're linked to solos and linked to mutes. That's pretty good to have that. It's always good to keep yourself linked properly and make sure that your groups do act right. Now also, right here in my output, I have a little fader here, which corresponds to the same fader here that we see in the track view. I'll click here, a breakaway fader. This fader shows right here in front of us. As I move this up and down, you see those 3 tracks move together because obviously they're in a group. And also, this is the breakaway fader of the kick drum. I can use like an overall fader for the group. Because what I can do, I can keep that fader there, slide all the way over here to the end of my mix, and go to where we have the drum mix, which says drum verb. And I can move this fader here, and I can select the balance I want to have between my drums and the reverb for my drums. See that? It's a good balance. Instead of having to be down there and move back and forth, I have a breakaway fader I could use at times if I want to just check out how it's running. And move right back down to here. And it still, of course, obviously corresponds because they're all in the same group. I like to do that sometimes when I'm actually mixing and I don't have time to move back and forth. I'm just using a mouse. I don't have like an interface unit that actually, like a D003 or some other mixer that's interfaced with my Pro Tools. It's a great way to work. Now also we have our panning here, and we also have the levels of pan you can see right there appear there as we move the pan knob. And of course, record, sustain. Record rather. We have solo and we got mute here, of course. LED light up here. Now, of course, we showed you before, this actually goes to the same output. And that's important to know. And here, as you can see here, this drum verb appears all the way down there at the other end of it. So that's a set. That means this is setting these sounds here. I'll turn the fader on here. As you can see here, this is the drums coming. I'll play the track a little bit. That's a snare drum. See, it's going to reverb. So we get a nice level of it. And that's what that fader does. So make sure we have those in place to know where we are. We're going to know where our sends are going and make sure that when we do hit it, that's why everything's labeled. I know that when I click here, that's my piano effects send. I click here, this is my drum effects send. I may want to send the piano reverb, as reverb to the piano, and send this, a little bit of this over to the drums. So I like the way that reverb is. I can get a blend there, which is always cool to do at the same time too. So it's just an overall view of how our mixer works. And what we're going to do here next, we're going to go right down here to our master. And I can do our master fader before I start mixing somewhat, is to get something that gives me a nice clean sound. I don't want too much going on. I want to make sure the sound's good, but I don't want to have it too loud. So right here, I like to get my level here to about maybe -3 sometimes. Oops, let me go back here to the mixer window. And yeah, I want to keep it right about here, -3 somewhat, which is really cool. About maybe -2.8 in this case right now, right? And I'm going to add here an EQ on top. Just got my Joe Meek EQ here. And I won't even set up yet. And I want to go here also, I'm going to add some sort of compressor. And I'll use a compressor. Here I go with this, for right now, let's use this compressor, just so we can get started and get an idea what we want to use. And I may look for a preset I want to use on the compressor. And I like to go with a clean limit. I have to have like a little limiter on the beginning when it starts. So I want to limit how high it's going to go. I don't want to go above 0 dB. I want to create some good headroom in the mix. Then I'll just play it back a little bit. And see how it sounds. I can add a little gain there, a little pump to it, but it's not passing 0 dB. It's still a little bit below 0 dB, right? See that? And you'll see here in the track too. It's not going past it too much. I'm here at this point here, of course, at the -2.8. So I want to bring it down some more. I don't want to go too far. That's good enough for me. Just get an idea what's going on here. I don't want to go too loud. You're going to get started with your mix, but first I'm going to make sure we don't get too loud. It's important to maintain headroom in your mix. That's very important. Well, it's a cool lesson. Now I'm going to get further into mixing on our next lesson.